I remember the way the morning light came through the blinds that day. Sharp, unforgiving, like it knew something I didn't. The house felt too clean, like it had been prepared for a showing, not a vacation, not for all of us anyway. I stood in the hallway, clutching the duffel bag I had packed the night before. It wasn't new. It wasn't filled with beach clothes like Nova's pink suitcase was. Mine had a hoodie, one pair of swim trunks I'd outgrown, and 3 neatly folded shirts. I wasn't included in the trip to the mall. No one asked what I might need. Maybe they assumed I didn't need anything. Maybe they hoped I'd figure it out. In the kitchen, Maris was fussing with her phone. She didn't even glance up. Nova walked past me wearing sunglasses, inside the house, and said something under her breath that I didn't quite catch. Dad was by the door, tossing bags into the car. He looked up, smiled like we were heading to church, and said, "Ready, bud." Strong boys don't need much. They trust. I should have known that meant something. The ride to the airport was quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, more like the kind you feel when something's about to go wrong, but nobody wants to say it out loud. I sat in the way back of the SUV while Nova and Maris talked about spa appointments and photo ops. We pulled up to the terminal. People were moving in every direction. Luggage wheels clacked, car doors slammed, someone was crying about a missed flight 3 cars over. It all felt normal, and that's what made it worse. Dad handed out passports. I stood there, hands out, expecting mine. But he only had 5. I said, "What about mine?" The woman at the check-in counter looked at me, puzzled. "You're not listed on the reservation." I looked at Dad. He looked at Maris. And then, he smiled, like this was all part of the plan. "Let's talk over here," he said. He led me to the side near one of those overpriced gift shops. Maris kept her distance, fiddling with her purse. Dad crouched down a bit, like he used to when I was little. "This trip, it's kind of a bonding thing, for the new family. You know how that goes." I stared at him. "I'm your son." "That's why I trust you'll understand." He pulled a wad of cash from his pocket, 2 crisp $100 bills, and pressed them into my hand. "You can take an Uber home. There's frozen pizza in the freezer. You'll be fine." I tried to say something, anything, but the words caught in my throat. Maris walked by just then, didn't even stop. "Don't make a scene," she said, low and quick. "This is for the best." And they walked away. Just like that. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood there, holding the money like it was an eviction notice. There were families hugging goodbye all around me. A dad lifting his kid onto his shoulders. A woman laughing with her teenage daughter about boarding zones. I felt like a ghost standing in line with the living. I turned, walked slowly toward the far windows, found a bench near gate 24, sat there. It wasn't until I opened my bag that I saw it. A birthday card, tucked into the side pocket. The envelope wasn't sealed, no handwriting, no name. I pulled it out, stared at it like it might suddenly mean something. But it didn't. It was blank. Just like the space I'd been given in this family. I didn't open it, didn't throw it away either. I slipped it back into the pocket and sat there as the departure screen updated. Flight to Honolulu, on time. Gate closing soon. I watched it close. I didn't stand. I just kept thinking. Maybe they thought I'd disappear. But something in me decided, right there at that window, that this wasn't the end of it. I stayed at the airport long after their flight had taken off. People came and went, rushing to gates, dragging suitcases, waving tearful goodbyes. I sat still, quiet, almost invisible. Eventually, I pulled out my phone, just something to do with my hands. I opened Instagram. Maris had already posted from the lounge. The caption read, "Our family adventure begins. Time to reconnect where it matters most." The photo was bright, polished, staged like everything she shared. Nova's hand held a fruity drink. Blaze flashed that practiced smile. Dad, of course, stood in the center. I wasn't there, not in the photo, not tagged, not mentioned. They didn't forget. They erased me. I screenshotted the post, titled it Proof, emailed it to myself. I wasn't sure what I'd use it for, but I wasn't going to pretend it didn't happen. The word family kept ringing in my head like a joke with a cruel punchline. They really went all in. That photo wasn't the first blow. Just the confirmation. I remembered the birthday bag I found on the counter the day before they left. Everyone else was upstairs. I wasn't even snooping, just saw it sitting there like it had been forgotten. Inside was a hoodie, the kind Nova liked, and a card. To Nova, proud of the young woman you've become. I'd stood there for a long time, holding that card like it might change if I blinked enough. I slipped it back in the envelope, put it exactly where I found it, and walked away. I didn't tell anyone. That's when it really started, this feeling. Like I was being faded out, frame by frame, like I was watching someone quietly erase my name from a chalkboard and pretend I'd never written it there. I thought about all the things leading up to this. Dinner conversations where no one asked me about school, group texts I wasn't included in, that family calendar on the fridge, everyone's names in bold marker, mine, barely penciled in, erasable. They didn't hit me. They didn't scream, they just slowly stopped seeing me. That kind of hurt doesn't bleed, it echoes. And now I sat, still at that food court table, surrounded by strangers too busy to notice a kid not going anywhere. I called a ride, then canceled it, twice. Bought a soda just to keep the table. Watched a family 2 tables over sing happy birthday to a boy turning 10. His mom kissed his cheek like he was made of gold. I didn't feel angry watching them. I didn't feel anything. I opened my bag and saw it again. The card. The blank one. The one from my own birthday weeks ago. No message, no signature, just a card. I almost threw it away. Instead, I slid it back in. It was mine now, even if it said nothing. You learn to speak differently when no one listens. You start talking in screenshots, in saved drafts, in locked folders labeled someday. I pulled up my old texts. One from Mom, back when she was still texting me, before she moved across the state. Before she remarried, before she started signing off with take care instead of love you, she wrote, "Always remember, you are not optional, you are essential." That text hit different now. I hovered over the call button for a minute, maybe longer. But I didn't press it. I didn't need comfort. I needed a record, something no one could edit me out of again. I stayed at the airport as the sun began to lower behind the glass walls, spilling amber light across the tiles. It didn't feel warm, not to me. I found a quiet spot near an unused gate, plugged my phone in, and sat on the floor like I had nowhere else to go. Because I didn't. I opened my messages. A few read receipts didn't match up. One from Dad that showed read before I ever opened it. Some threads had replies I never saw until they vanished. Then I remembered Maris offhandedly saying something about a playlist I'd shared with a friend, something I never told her about. I felt it then, clear and sharp. They'd been reading my texts. They weren't just ignoring me. They were watching. I wasn't being left alone. I was being monitored like a liability, like a spark they were trying to contain before it became fire. I tried searching for the family group chat, the one I saw on Nova's phone once when she left it unlocked. It wasn't on mine, never had been. I remembered seeing a thread with a name like Weekend Warriors or something just as corny. Photos from our old housewarming party. Messages about plans for the Hawaii trip. Maris using too many exclamation points. Nova dropping links to bikinis. Dad sending flight confirmations. I had no part in it. No name, no message, no invite. I wasn't forgotten. I was excluded. I opened my backpack, pulled out the little notebook I used for school. Lined, dog-eared, the corner chewed up from nerves. I flipped to a blank page and wrote in big letters, "The rooms I was never allowed in." Below it, I listed everything I could remember. Family text chains I never got added to. Group photos I wasn't asked to be in. Dinners I found out about too late. "We didn't think you'd be interested." It slipped our minds. "Next time, okay?" "No, not okay. That kind of silence isn't passive, it's targeted. You can't call it an oversight when it happens every single time." I thought back to Dad's promotion celebration at his office, the one he said was just a work thing. I stayed home. That night I saw photos online. There was Nova standing next to him in a blazer she clearly borrowed from Maris. He called her my rock through all this. I asked about it later. He said, "It was a quick thing. You wouldn't have enjoyed it." I remember nodding. I remember knowing he was lying. I pulled out my laptop, logged into my drive, and opened a new document. Timeline of being erased. I typed the first entry. No invite to Dad's job dinner. Told I wouldn't enjoy it. Then the hoodie gift to Nova. The blank birthday card. The cropped-out photos. The withdrawal from the family plan on my phone bill. The locked drawer in the hallway I wasn't allowed to open. Not everything invisible is untrue. I wasn't just writing memories anymore. I was building evidence. They didn't believe feelings. They believed facts. Fine. I'd give them facts. I added screenshots, emails, captions, times and dates, Maris's posts, the family calendar with everyone's names in bold ink, mine in pencil. People don't believe stories. They believe receipts. So I'd keep them. I'd build something so irrefutable they couldn't ignore it anymore. Not without lying to everyone, not just to me. As I organized the files, a memory thumbnail popped up. An old video. One I didn't recognize. I clicked it. It started blurry, like it was filmed from a pocket or a cup holder. But the voices were clear. We were in the car. I had hit record by accident. Dad was driving. Maris was talking. Her voice calm, bored, maybe tired. Just another conversation in their quiet little plot. "We'll have to adjust him out gradually," she said. "Can't have the press asking who that kid is." That kid, I didn't blink. I replayed it twice. She wasn't talking about Nova or Blaze. She was talking about me and Dad. He didn't say a word. He just changed lanes and kept driving. They didn't just forget me, they planned my disappearance. I made it back to the house before dark, used the spare key they kept hidden behind the gas meter, not because they expected me to need it, but because Maris insisted every home should have a backup plan. That one hit different now. The hallway light flickered once before settling. I stood there, bag slung over my shoulder, staring at the walls. They were still painted the same neutral beige Maris picked out last summer, still lined with framed photos. None of me. Nova's prom, Dad's new company launch, Blaze holding the dog they adopted without telling me. Everything looked fine, staged, like a catalog, like they were preparing for visitors, not for me. I walked past Nova's room. She still had balloons from her birthday, though they were starting to sag. Her door was slightly open, clothes everywhere. The smell of floral body spray clung to the air. My room, if you could call it that, was still at the end of the hallway. Small, neat, cold. Guest towels folded on the dresser like it was a hotel. I dropped the money Dad gave me on the desk, didn't count it, didn't even look at the denominations. It felt like being paid to vanish. You can be allowed to live in a house and still be completely unwelcome. Out of habit, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop, clicked through school links. I wasn't expecting anything. I just wanted to feel normal for 5 minutes. That's when I saw it. A red banner at the top of the screen. Pending withdrawal in process. I clicked through. A few forms already signed digitally. The request to transfer me to another school. The reason? Home environment better suited for remote learning. They didn't even tell me. They just did it. I called the school counselor's number, let it ring until voicemail kicked in. Left no message. What would I even say? I stared at the screen, at my own name fading from the student list. Took a screenshot and filed it into the folder I'd started, erased records. I wasn't even worth a conversation. They just filed the paperwork and moved on. I leaned back, let the laptop fall shut. My chest burned, but I kept still. The quiet filled in like water. It wasn't the first time I felt like furniture, a background piece to their story. I remembered sitting on the stairs 2 weeks ago, after dinner, before Nova's soccer practice. The kitchen door was cracked open. I didn't mean to listen. I didn't move because I knew if I did, they'd stop talking. Maris was wiping down the counter. She said it plain, like someone noting the weather. The house is calmer when he's not around. It's the truth. Dad didn't defend me. He didn't say anything. He changed the subject. Something about new blinds for the upstairs windows. That's what hurt. Not the words, the ease. Sometimes it's not the things they say that gut you. It's how little effort it takes for them to say it. Back in my room, I opened my email, started typing a message to the school counselor. Not dramatic, just factual. Listed the withdrawal, my access being revoked, the history of exclusion, the missing conversations, the canceled group chat. I kept it clean, not emotional. At the end, I typed one line. I am documenting everything. But I didn't send it. I saved it as a draft. Instead, I opened my journal and left it on the bed, pages exposed. I placed the blank birthday card beside it. A display, not a cry for help, just a quiet signal. You wanted me silent, not invisible. Later that night, as I lay staring at the ceiling, my phone buzzed. Notification from Maris's profile. New video. How to create a peaceful home in blended families. I watched it. There she was, standing in our living room, speaking to her ring light with soft piano music in the background. Her voice syrupy sweet, her tone full of false wisdom. Sometimes, she said, you have to lovingly set boundaries, even with toxic influences. She smiled like she'd solved world hunger. I watched her wave her hand at the end of the video like she always did. That same gentle dismissal she gave me every time I asked a question she didn't want to answer. They thought I didn't know how to fight back. But peace doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. I didn't sleep. I laid there with my eyes open, watching shadows shift across the ceiling like they were waiting for me to blink. I didn't. The air was stale. My back ached from the mattress that felt more like a folded gym mat than a bed. It squeaked every time I turned, so I just stopped moving. There were boxes stacked against the wall, one labeled seasonal decor blocking the closet door halfway. A few were still taped shut from a move 3 years ago. No one had touched them since. I looked around the room again. It wasn't mine. It hadn't been for a while. It used to hold a bedspread I picked, posters I'd earned for perfect attendance, a bookshelf that leaned but never collapsed. Now it was neutral gray, hotel style, guest towels, a lamp no one ever turned on. On the desk sat the birthday card, still sealed, still blank. You can make someone feel homeless in a house full of rooms. I reached for my phone. The screen glowed back at me, empty. I scrolled, looking for something familiar, something that made sense. Mom's number was still saved. I hadn't called her in months. We hadn't really spoken since she got remarried. She texted once, asking how school was. I answered. She didn't respond. Still, I tapped her name. The ringtone barely finished the first cycle when she picked up. Hello? Hi, it's me. Long pause. What's going on? I swallowed. Can I come stay with you? She didn't sigh. Didn't get emotional. I can't take that on right now, she said. I have my own situation to manage. I nodded, not that she could see me. Okay. I hope you understand. Another pause. Yeah, I said. I do. Then the line went dead. Even shadows don't ask to be picked. They just follow until there's no light left. I let the phone fall onto the comforter, rolled to my side. The creaking bed groaned underneath me. Somewhere in the house, the heater clicked. It was the only sound. And somehow, that steady pulse was comforting. At least it was consistent. If no one claims you, do you still belong somewhere? That thought echoed louder than anything else in the room. I reached for the card on the desk, held it with both hands. Didn't open it, didn't tear it up either. It wasn't about what was written. It was about what wasn't. That card, empty as it was, held every word they didn't say, every sentence they dodged, every moment they decided silence would hurt less than truth. They were wrong. I opened my laptop. The screen lit my face in the dark, and I accidentally clicked the camera icon. My own reflection startled me. Pale, tired, eyes that didn't blink fast anymore. I stared at myself longer than I ever had, not fixing hair, not adjusting angles, just looking. Is this the boy they erased? I took a screenshot, didn't post it, just saved it. Named the file, The Witness. If they won't frame me in their life, I'll frame myself in mine. I opened a new email draft. No real plan, just typed. To whom it may concern. I paused, deleted it, typed again. To the ones who left me out, I wrote about the house. The gift. The trip I never got to take. The room that used to be mine. I didn't ask for pity. Didn't beg for a response. I printed the email. Folded it once. Slid it into the back pocket of my journal. If silence is survival, then this is my signal flare. That morning, I didn't eat. I wandered the house like it was a stranger's place, each hallway familiar but foreign, like someone had rearranged my memories while I slept. The smell of coffee lingered in the air, but no one was home. Just me and the echoes. There was this moment stuck in my head. A dinner party a couple months back. Maris had her influencer friends over. I was supposed to be invisible, carry plates, stay out of frame. I did. I played the part. But I heard one of them ask her, soft and careless, "Is he even his real son? I thought you only had 2 kids." She smiled. That kind of smile people use when they're playing host but hate every second of it. "He's from a previous chapter," she said. That's what she called me. A previous chapter. That stuck, like something written in ink you can't erase, just smudge until it blurs. That morning, I walked straight to the office. I didn't even knock on my own thoughts, just opened the drawer, the filing cabinet. The bottom one was locked. It always had been. But for the first time, I wondered why. I grabbed the metal bookmark I kept in my sketchbook. Flat, thin, sharper than it looked. Slid it into the lock. Took a few tries, but it popped. Inside were the usual things: bank statements, warranty papers, receipts for things no one remembers buying. And then, a small envelope. Blue, worn at the edges, labeled in neat handwriting. For Kalev, from V.E. I froze. V.E. That was Veda Ellis, my grandmother, my dad's mom. She passed away 2 years ago. Quiet funeral, no one talked about it. I opened it. Inside was a letter, folded small, and a bracelet, thin, copper, with my initials carved on the inside. KG. It fit. Not perfectly, but it slid over my wrist like it belonged there. I unfolded the letter. The handwriting was shaky, but I could read every word. If you're reading this, it means you've grown enough to need truth. You were never forgotten. I tried, Kalev. I asked. I sent gifts. I was told you didn't want to see me. I never believed it. I just hoped someday you'd find this. My chest didn't hurt. It burned. They told her I didn't want her, and they hid this. She sent this before she died, and I never even knew she remembered my name. Love delayed is still love, but lies, even with good intentions, still rot. I sat there, the envelope open beside me, the bracelet cool against my skin, and I felt something shift. Not like breaking, more like waking up. I didn't rage. I wrote. I took out a sheet of paper, just lined paper from my binder, wrote a letter to Dad, didn't rant, didn't accuse, just laid it out. I found what you buried, and I think you buried parts of yourself, too. I took a photo of the bracelet, printed it, folded the letter around the photo, and placed it neatly in the top drawer of his sock dresser. It wasn't a threat. It was a line in the sand. This isn't a warning shot. This is me refusing to stay unarmed. Back in my room, the one they turned into a storage closet with a bed, I scanned the letter and saved it in a folder titled Not Forgotten. Sent it to the school counselor using encrypted email. I wrote one line. I'm not okay, and I'm not staying quiet anymore. Before closing my laptop, a notification popped up. A digital flyer from school. Open mic night. Theme, unspoken truths. Maybe it's time I said something they can't unhear. The day started like any other lie. They said I was feeling under the weather, but I knew exactly what I was doing. I walked out of school around noon, same way I'd done 100 times. Head down, hoodie up. No one questioned it. That's the thing about being erased. Eventually, people stopped checking the roll call. When I got home, the house was empty. Maris and my father were at some community event, another panel about parenting in modern families. Their words, not mine. I tried to log into my school email just to check the counselor's response from the message I sent last night. Access denied, account disabled. A few seconds later, my homeroom teacher sent me a paper slip. Student moved to home instruction pending permanent transfer. I asked why. He fumbled, looked down, and said, "It came from your parents." They didn't just lock me out of the system, they locked me out of the future. I walked home slower than usual, not from exhaustion, but from clarity. It wasn't the loss of access that got me. It was the loss of belonging. When I got back, I dropped my backpack by the door and sat at the kitchen table for a few minutes, let the silence work itself into my chest. Then I opened my phone. Notifications, mostly junk, but one caught my eye. A classmate had sent me a video, no text, just a link. I tapped it. Maris, at a recent event. Someone else had recorded her off to the side, off script. She was smiling, glass of wine in hand. Then she said it. Thank God we didn't bring him. It would have ruined the brand image. Not loud, not dramatic, just casual. Like she was talking about the weather. The caption read, "Guess who's not the favorite?" There were comments, lots of them. Some people laughed, others didn't. I didn't care. I saved the video. This wasn't a mistake. This was confirmation. Back upstairs, I opened my laptop. Pulled up my folder. Receipts, screenshots, documents, audio files, messages. All labeled, all backed up. I created a new timeline, called it narrative control. Under each date, I added commentary, context, for every clip, a caption, for every silence, a statement. Then I opened a fresh doc and started writing my script for the open mic. Not a speech, not a confession, a reckoning. This isn't revenge, I typed. This is reclamation. I wasn't going to cry, or beg, or explain. I was going to tell the truth. The kind of truth they couldn't spin. I texted Silas, a senior who once helped me encrypt a video for a tech class. He replied within 2 minutes. Still got your files? Yeah. Upload everything here, he said, sending a link to a secure folder. And set a trigger. Trigger? If you disappear or your account goes dead, it sends everything, counselor, CPS, media, everyone. I didn't ask why he knew how to do that. I just did it. It took an hour to upload it all, another 10 minutes to set the timer. 3 days. That's all I gave it. This wasn't a threat. It was insurance. I opened my school's events page, found the sign-up for the open mic. Theme, unspoken truths. I didn't put my full name, just Kalev. And a single sentence, I'll be brief, but not quiet. I saved it, closed the tab. Then I looked down at the bracelet on my wrist, the one from Vada. My grandmother, my real family. They didn't get to define me, not anymore. For once, the story won't be told about me, it'll be told by me. Earlier that afternoon, I went into my father's office for something. I don't even remember what now. Maybe I was just looking for one last reason not to show up that night. What I found shut down whatever hesitation I had left. His computer was on. A tab was open. An email sat in full view like it had been waiting for me. The subject line read, "Custody transfer finalized." It was addressed to the school district, copied to a family attorney I'd never heard of. Legal language, sharp and dry like cardboard. Effective immediately. My name. Maris listed as guardian. No mention of me in the discussion. Just a formality. Attached was a scanned insurance document. My name again. But Maris was the beneficiary. They didn't plan to tell me. They planned to benefit from me. I clicked print, folded the pages carefully, slid them into my backpack like loading ammunition. And then I zipped the bag, stood up, and walked out without locking the office door behind me. By the time the sky turned gold, I was standing at the edge of the school auditorium. My name was on the open mic list. My backpack hung heavier than usual on my shoulder, not because of what was inside, but because I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I walked in alone, wore the bracelet from my grandmother. It sat snug on my wrist, the initials still catching light when I moved just right. The room was half full, parents chatting, teachers trying to act like they weren't nervous, students pacing, whispering lines to themselves. Then I saw them. Waylon and Maris, sitting side by side on stage. The projector behind them read, "Raising Resilient Teens in Blended Families." You couldn't write this stuff. Maris smiled wide when she spoke. Waylon gave tight, approving nods like a man who hadn't broken a single thing in his life. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I sat in the front row and waited. When they called my name, just Kalev, no last name, I walked up to the mic. My hands didn't shake. I looked at the audience, at them, and I started, "I'm not here to name names. They've already named me too many things. Some people shifted in their seats. Others leaned in. I'm here to talk about what happens when someone isn't just left out of a trip or a dinner, but out of an entire family. I told them about the birthday card with no writing, the photo albums where I'd been cropped, the school withdrawal I only found out about by accident, the room I slept in that used to be mine until it became storage. Then I pulled the pages from my backpack, held them up. This is a legal document transferring guardianship without my knowledge. And this? I raised the second page. This is a life insurance policy. I'm the insured. She's the beneficiary. Gasps, shifts in chairs, whispers. Maris stood suddenly. This is a misunderstanding. I turned toward her. No. It's clarity. Yours came at my expense. Waylon didn't move. His hands were clasped in his lap, like a child waiting for someone to tell him what to do next. I placed the papers on the podium, not slammed, just laid down. I didn't storm off, didn't cry. I walked off that stage like I was closing a door I didn't need anymore. Some truths don't echo. They just land. Backstage, I opened my phone. The encrypted folder with everything, emails, audio clips, legal docs, already loaded. I hit send. One went to the school board, one to the district counselor, one to a journalist Silas recommended, one to a state agency I'd never even heard of before last week. They built a story without me. I built a record without them. Tomorrow, they won't control the narrative. I will. The next morning, I woke up at Aunt Sela's house. The light in her guest room didn't feel staged. It didn't feel curated for a photo. It just felt real. Morning sun pushed through the cotton curtains, warming the floor near my feet. I didn't rush to get up. I reached for my phone, not to scroll for distractions, but to check what the world had decided to do with the truth. My inbox was full. Teachers, a guidance counselor, someone from the local district office, all reacting to what happened the night before. My story was now a thread on a community blog. The caption under the embedded video simply read, "He spoke. They listened." I opened a message from Reese. "They blocked me, just for defending you." I typed back, "Thank you for seeing me. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It just doesn't shut up anymore." Later that day, I returned to the house to collect my things. Sela came with me. She didn't speak much. Just stood in the entryway with that calm steadiness she always carried. Like she knew it wasn't her place to speak, only to make sure I wasn't walking in alone again. Maris was gone. At a wellness retreat, Waylon said, like that explained everything. He didn't meet my eyes. I walked through the living room. A photo album was left on the table, leather-bound, white stitching, one of those glossy ones meant to impress guests. I opened it slowly. Every photo that had once included me had been cropped, replaced, or edited. In one, where I remembered being right between Nova and Blaze, there was now a quote card glued into the center. "Family is who shows up." I laughed. Not loud, just enough to let it out of my chest. They didn't just cut me out. They tried to edit the truth. I gathered my things in silence. Waylon walked in when I was about done. He stood in the doorway like he was debating whether or not to say anything. I handed him a flash drive. "Just so you know," I said, "I didn't make anything up." He looked down at it. "You embarrassed us." I looked right at him. "No, I revealed you. If that feels like shame, maybe ask why." He didn't argue. There was no shouting, no apology, just the weight of a man being unmasked by someone he never thought would speak. Back at Sela's, I unpacked slowly. She gave me a small frame for my desk. I didn't even ask, just found it sitting there next to a glass of water and a folded towel. I slipped the blank birthday card into the frame. I didn't need the words anymore, just the space to write my own. I signed up for online courses, applied for a teen storytelling program that someone at school forwarded to me. I sent a formal request to be withdrawn from the district. And that night, I started recording audio entries. Not for anyone else, just for me. My voice was steady, no cracks, just breath and truth. A few days later, a small brown envelope showed up in the mail. A no-return address. Inside was a Polaroid. Me and Grandma Veda. I was maybe 5. sitting on her lap, grinning like I didn't know the world would ever hurt. On the back, in fading ink, "You always belonged, even when they didn't make room." I placed the photo beside the framed card. Some stories don't end with forgiveness. They end with freedom. I wasn't erased. I was redrawn, by my own hand.